The Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are team number 31. So Jets and Titans. I had Titans at 32 last year. Jets were maybe like 29. So not much movement from where they were at in 2025. But now here we are in 2026, and not much has changed. Last season, the Titans were 3-14. They are currently plus 10,000 to be the champions. 25th best odds. They are plus 5,000 to win their conference, 12th best odds. And they are plus 750, not too bad, to win the AFC South, which is still the worst odds in the division, but there's a chance. They started 1-11, and they showed a little bit of spark towards the end. They won 2 of their last 5 games. Head coach, they bring in Robert Saleh. They were 27th in EPA allowed per play and 23rd versus the run. They bring in the defensive mind and Robert Saleh, who tried to get the most out of what he had in San Francisco, who was also riddled with injuries. So I guess they thought, hey, if he can do this with an injury-riddled team, what could he do with our lacking roster as well? Offensive coordinator Brian Dable, who comes in after being the head coach of the New York Giants. The offense last year was 30th in EPA per play, 31st in the pass, 27th with the run. They were surprisingly 9th in quarterback pressure rate at 36.6%. Thought it was much worse. When you look back at what Brian Dable has done as his time as being a play caller, this goes back to 2009. I mean, there was a gap from 2012 to 2018 before he had the reins again. I mean, when you look at the yards, he was top 10 just twice when he was 2nd and 5th in Buffalo. Outside of that, he's been 18th. He was 13th once. But I mean, it's just not really been great for the most part with Brian Dable. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to see what he can do with Cam Ward. He's had Jackson Dart. Now let's see what he can do with Cam Ward. Defense coordinator is Gus Bradley. Gus is Gus. We're going to Gus. The Gus bus is here. The Titans only scored 16.7 points per game last year, which was good for 30th, third worst in the NFL. Second fewest yards per game, second fewest yards per play. They were actually 13th in the red zone, 58% conversion rate. So once they got there, they were good. They just couldn't get there. 21st in yards per rush. We know the run game was better than the pass. They passed at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. That's mostly due to the fact that they were always behind. They were always behind, so they had to pass the ball. Defensively, not much better. 28th in points per game, allowed at 28 per. 21st in yards per game, but that's skewed due to the fact that they were down and teams were running the clock out at times. They had the 3rd worst red zone scoring defense, allowing a touchdown on 66% of opponent red zone drives. They were 17th versus the run. I mean, they have those 2 defensive linemen in Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons that we will talk about more as we go along. But the pass, they gave up the most pass yards per attempt at 8.2 last year. God awful. So, first thing, additions. We look at the draft. The draft. So I did mock draft for them as well. And they have the 4th overall pick right now, which I have them taking a playmaker. They need to get Cam Ward some help. They took 2 wide receivers last year, 3 if you count his counterpart in Miami, who did not play. But they need more talent. Cornell Tate, wide receiver, Ohio State. Have Ohio State going at 2 and 4, I think, in a lot of most mock drafts. Tate, he stepped into a full-time role in 2025, surpassed expectations. They were already high to begin with. He's a dynamic playmaker down the field. He also shows his ability to be technical and with his know-how to uncover on short to intermediate routes. Give Cam Ward an easy option in the pass game. He tracks the ball well. I mean, no matter where it's at, he can get to the catch point. He's going to be a playmaking Z probably in the NFL, if I had to suggest where he's going to be. Get Cam Ward some help. At 35, I have them taking a lineman, TJ Parker, out of Clemson. He can use, when he finds like an area, a runway, I should say, he uses his get off and his length to drive the offensive lineman back. And he basically just uses that bull rush to get into the quarterback's lap. I I mean, it's going to be depending on how he develops his setup and his like a secondary rush as to how well he's going to translate his game to the NFL. With their third pick, 66, round 3, cornerback. I mean, this team was terrible all around. We'll talk about more of how bad they are in a moment. But Keontae Scott, cornerback out of Miami, uh, he's one of the most disruptive defensive backs at the line of scrimmage in college football, maybe that we've ever seen. He's undersized and he plays a specialized role, but his ability to read and react and the speed that he does that and his toughness as a tackler will get him on the field, especially closer to the line of scrimmage. With their fourth pick, I have them taking a tight end. Nothing really came out of Gunnar Helm. Chiga Okonkwo is going to be gone, so I have them taking Eli Stowers out of Vandy. Above average athlete for his position. He attacks the technique of defenders and uses his quickness to consistently win one-on-one slants, digs, seam routes. I mean, Cam Ward needs weapons. He needs a lot, but weapons is one thing. He produced mixed results when he was asked to work in traffic, but his hands are reliable enough to take in the 4th round. Take a flyer. I had them going linebacker, Harold Perkins out of LSU, then following that up 2 picks later with another DB, then get another wide receiver and another edge and another wide receiver. I mean, there's a lot going on here. The offensive line is not as much of an issue as some of these other areas that we have them going in the draft. So when you bring up their depth chart, this is what it looks like here. They're not losing too much in free agency, but they didn't have a lot to begin with. The green names that you see on the screen here are the ones that are potential free agents, or they are free agents. Are they going to come back? We shall see. Those of note that they may be losing, we could say Sebastian Joseph Day. Arden Key is one for sure. He had 4 sacks, 30 quarterback pressures, which is around the norm for him. So a depth piece if they kept him, I mean, he might be a starter as bad as this team is. Jalen Harrell actually came on late in the season. He has the longest active half sack or more streak in the NFL with 5 straight games. Kevin Zeitler on the offensive side of the ball is going to be gone. He was great in Detroit. I mean, the offensive line could be better, but here we are. He might be the best one on that offensive line. Chiga Okonkwo is going to be gone, and that is a weapon. In his 4 years in Tennessee, I mean, this was his best season. He's been the same player every year. The last 3 seasons, he's had 50-ish receptions. The last 3 seasons, he's had 528, 479, and 560 receiving yards. And the last 3 seasons, he's had 1, 2, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So there's really no growth. So they're losing him, but they will go with Gunnar Helm and probably someone that they draft. They may bring in a secondary tight end in free agency. We will see. The strengths for this team, unlike the New York Jets that we had at 32, they do actually have some strengths. Competent coaching with Robert Saleh, Brian Dable, Gus Bradley. They have some experience coming into the building, a way of life, a culture setter in Robert Saleh. So that's good for the Titans franchise and fan base. The run game, as far as how much it improved in the second half of the season, in weeks 1 through 12, they were minus 0.15 EPA per rush. In weeks 13 through 17, that flipped from minus 0.15 to a positive 0.02. So we saw what Tony Pollard did in the second half of that season towards the end. The interior defensive line is another strength on this team. Jeffrey Simmons, he led all defensive tackles this season with 58 pressures, 26 quick pressures, which are the ones that are under 2.5 seconds, and 10 sacks. He also had a touchdown, if you remember, or was it a 2-point conversion touchdown? Devondre Sweat, also amazing. I mean, his numbers are equally, I won't say equally as good, but I mean, what is he? Top 15 amongst interior defensive linemen. Let's look at his numbers this year. He had stops, which are tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage. 23 this year, 2 sacks, 17 QB pressures, but he's more of a run stuffer. We know what he does with the run stuffing. He only played in 12 games this year. So that's their strengths. Outside of that, there's not really much else. Weaknesses. The weaknesses on this team are plenty. As we discussed earlier, I mean, the offense, the passing game was next to last as far as efficiency goes. The run game, it improved as the season went on, but it was not great. Quarterback pressures, they're still getting. I mean, Cam Ward is running for his life on every play pretty much. How many sacks did he take? I mean, he saved a lot of sacks from being had by his escapability. They were still sixth in sacks with 56. Average separation, there's no way they're on there. 3.6. That is absolutely astonishing, which is good for eighth. Explosive plays, explosive runs, explosive runs. They were 28th with 40, so that's just about 2 per game, 2.5 per game. How often did they get stuffed? They were stuffed only on 15.6%, which was good for 12th. Their success rate on the ground, this can't be too high. 28th at 40%. That is, I mean, this is just terrible. That's just the offense. When you look at the defense wasn't much better. I mean, there's a lot of weaknesses all over, no matter how you slice it. They were not good. Pass yards per play, they were third worst at 7 yards per play. That is terrible. They were only behind the Commanders and the Cowboys, and we know how terrible the Cowboys were. Rush yards per play, they were better in this part. This won't be a weakness. They were league average. Quarterback pressure rate, they were 8th, and that's thanks to Jeffrey Simmons. You're welcome. Pass yards per game, they're not going to be they're 10th, and they were playing from behind majority of the game. That tells you how bad that they were. As far as explosive runs that were allowed, again, this says interior defensive linemen showing up. They were 17th. So that really wasn't a weakness there. But, I mean, there's so many issues. The secondary with the likes of Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, he's kind of fallen off since his time in KC. Kevin Winston Jr., who they took this past year. I mean, there is no one there out of those 4 that I just named that is anything amazing for sure. They're losing Sebastian Joseph Day. They're losing Arden Key. They do have Jalen Harrell, but linebacker, they have Cody Barton, who's not bad. Oladejo didn't really show anything this year. I mean, what was his final numbers? Let's see. What did he let's see. He was a second-round pick last year. He was 52nd overall, and he had 0 sacks. 225 snaps, 0 sacks. Not ideal. 6 QB pressures. Not ideal either. So the defense is greatly struggling. I mean, there's more to like on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they just still have a ton of holes. Just like the New York Jets have a ton of holes. The Tennessee Titans have a lot of holes, and at least they have a quarterback and a defensive line that is formidable at times, especially on the interior. Cap situation. Let's bring up this offseason outlook that I had here. Committed salary, $226 million. It's the least out of any team. Cap space, 99 million. Most of any team. Dead cap, just 500,000. That's going to Brownlee Jr. Nothing worthwhile there. Again, this is some of the things I already hit on. Can they improve the worst offense in the NFL? What does Saleh bring? They need more talent on defense. Same issues as the Jets in a lot of regards, but they just have a quarterback and a defensive line that's a little bit better. Key remaining players on this team: Cam Ward, year 2. We have Pollard still here. Tajay Spears, he's not a free agent. Okay, I didn't think so. I was making sure. I know I had it on there. But Pollard and Spears are back. DK, the all-purpose yards guy. Jeffrey Simmons, Devondre Sweat, all coming back. Like I said, they're losing Arden Key, Kevin Zeitler, and Chiga Conquo. Their schedule for this season. Titans. So let's run through it like we did the Jets earlier. Their home games: Houston, Indy, Jacksonville. They could really be in trouble out of those 6 games in the division. I don't know what they win. I mean, gonna be tough. Cleveland, let's say they get that one. The Jets, they could get. Eagles, no. Pittsburgh, probably not. Washington, maybe. Away, divisional opponents again. Baltimore, Cincy, Dallas, Detroit, Las Vegas, and the Giants. Again, we're looking at around 4 or 5 wins out of those 17 for the Titans. Looking at the most valuable player odds for this team, their best odds are Cam Ward at plus 50,000 for most MVP. Most improved player on this roster that I would like to see and who it needs to be is probably Cam Ward. When you look at his numbers, Jagar says Justin Fields are winning the Super Bowl. I guess the Jets? I don't think so. I don't even think he's going to be there. He had that one year, $30 million contract, basically. When you look at Cam Ward's numbers last year amongst all the passers, the qualified passers, as far as EPA per dropback goes, this is out of 33 passers. He was 33rd. When you look at total EPA out of 33 passers, he was 33rd. When you look at completion percentage, out of 33 passers, he was 31st. When you look at time to throw out of 33 passers, this is skewed due to his escapability. He had 3 seconds. Quarterback pressure rate, already talked about that. Interceptions, he was 24th. He only had 7 interceptions, 15 touchdowns. His passer rating, when you get to a little bit more simplistic numbers, he was 30th. So, 31st, sorry. All around, we need him to improve. So, we need to just see improvement from Cam Ward all around. The offensive line needs to improve as well because those things go hand in hand. If one can get better, then the other one can get better. If the offensive line can improve, then so can Cam Ward potentially. Drop-off candidates on this team, when you look at this roster, no one really worthy of dropping off. I don't think Jeffrey Simmons is going to drop off. I don't think Devondre Sweat's going to drop off. No one else was really amazing enough to say, hey, you're going to be that much worse this year. Like I said earlier, I'm curious to see what Jalen Harrell's going to do. He, like I said, has the longest active streak of at least a half sack in a game at 5 of anyone in the NFL as we go into 2026. So we'll see what happens with him. X factors, it's not Cam Ward. I think it's Robert Saleh, honestly. Robert Saleh is the X factor. Can he turn this culture around in Tennessee? They get the new jerseys that I don't really care for, the new logo I don't really care for. Could have done much better if they were going to redesign it. But here we are. So to finish up the Titans, best case scenario for them. So as far as best, worst, and my realistic outcome, best case is Cam Ward and offensive line become, as a combo, the 20th best unit in the NFL. Saleh gets the defense to do the same, be around 20th. And they finish around 7-10, 8-9 potentially. That's really pushing it, but that's best case scenario. I don't think we get anything better than that. Worst case scenario, they're in too big of a hole from 2025. They're still in another rebuilding year. Cam does not take another step forward with his accuracy and lack of weaponry around him. And they finish around 5 wins again. They were 3-14 last year. They could potentially go 3-14 again this year, 4-13 instead. But what my realistic expectation is for the Tennessee Titans is that Saleh being there really does change the culture for this franchise. Everyone in the building. Cam is a lot calmer in the pocket. Brian Daboll calms him down, I will say, is not as erratic with his throws. The defense improves slightly. I won't say they may go from 31st to 25th, 24th. I don't think they're going to be like a top 16 unit. And they finish around 6-11 or 7-10. And to me, that's going to be great for the Titans and the fan base if they can get to around that threshold for 2026 and going forward, looking forward to the future and having something to build on. That's it for tonight. We have made it through the first two teams of 2026, the 2026 off season. We will slowly do two teams per week as we go forward. It'll be on Tuesdays going forward. Until we get to around the 16th team where we'll dive in deeper, one team per week, until we get to the preseason and kickoff yet again. So 32, we have the Jets. 31, we have the Titans. If you watch this video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment who you think should be in the top 4. I have that bigger at the top, as you see over there. Who's your top 4 teams? Who's your top 10 teams? Do you agree with Titans being 31, Jets being 32? This will change as the offseason goes. Additions will be made in the draft and in free agency. But until then, follow King NFL Stats on every social media platform: X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Do Champions. Follow them for all your Buffalo Bills news. And we will catch you Tuesday. Appreciate you stopping by.